How many people work at Meta?
65,000.
That is direct employees. We're not
Yes.
talking about employees of other companies. Those are direct employees.
Yes, so 65,000, maybe another 200,000, 300,000 around the world, yes.
From your color skin, from the blacks, how many people are at your level?
It's a small percentage, very small percentage.
Would you say 1%?
Maybe less than that. Had the best December. Normally you go through the rite of passage, normally that you go through, as a kijana. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Patch. So back then, there were different letter sizes. So when you got a big letter size, kind of like a bigger brown envelope, you knew you were going to a national school. When you got a small one, you knew you were going to other areas. So it meant something.
So you got the brown one?
I got the big brown one, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was that feeling when you got your acceptance, that you got it's a taste of victory?
Yes. You know what the founder had told us is that you'll go to a school where if you drop your fork or spoon, you just lift up your hand and someone will come and give you another one. So I was like, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And true, in Patch, you go hit the knocker and then everyone sits down. And once you have about 15 minutes of eating, it's quiet. If you drop something, you just lift up your hand and someone brings it.
No way.
Chakula ikiisha, as it's going down the table, you just lift up your hands. There are all these people on the side, wanakuletea more stew. I hadn't seen that. We only ate githeri once on Friday. You wouldn't know. Group of schools is different.
I'm shocked by the level. Yeah. I've had different versions of Patch.
Yes.
So yours is, Patch was not the Duke. The Duke was Lenana.
Yes.
Yours,
yes.
Patch was?
Different level.
What was the English name that was given?
Prince of Wales.
The Prince of Wales.
Yes.
Just hold a bit on Patch, rewind a bit.
Yes.
Friendships. I've not heard you speak about friendships.
Yes.
Tight friendships at this time.
So I grew up in Embu. There's one guy who ended up in Sawasawa with me. His name is David Mogambi. Mm. He's still my friend up to this day. So David was the sharpest guy I ever knew. Smart. Mm. He knew so well about how to do so many different things. He ended up going to Nkobo High School, which is a really good school, because he had ended up selecting Mangu.
Yes.
He never got a chance to go to Mangu because it was very competitive. But up to this day, I've been able to connect with him. But also, the type of person I am, I connect with everyone.
Okay.
Yes. You know me and I know you personally. There's a storyline that we have together.
Okay.
Yes.
What about your brothers? I've not also heard you speak about them.
Yes. So since we grew up in different age groups, my brother was the coolest brother in his age group. He knew how to ride a bike, he knew how to swim before everyone. He had the girls. Life was good for him. He knew how to drive in Form 1, Form 2. He was driving himself back and forth to school. So life was really, but he had a different age group and friends. My little brother, we grew up a little bit closer. He was born 81, I was born 4-year difference. But he also was a different age group. So Devi, from all practical purposes, is a person that I connected with a lot, plus other people. I'm also very competitive. So if someone is better than me, like Uli Patangapi, I'm working towards that. Yeah, I'm always pegging myself with something.
Yeah. Yes. And of course, the first people you're competing with is your siblings.
Yes, my siblings. But I wasn't as cool as Mike. So he knew he was cooler than me. He had the girls, he had the social skills to be able to connect. And then the little guy was slightly different from me. His age group was very different. Okay,
so you go to Patch in Nairobi School. Let me stop calling it Patch. Nairobi School in 1990.
Yes.
Nairobi School is in Nairobi.
Yes.
And it's again a boarding school, and it's all boys.
Yes. So 91.
91.
So 91 to 94. So a high-cost national school in the middle of Nairobi, formerly Prince of Wales. Yes. You hear that from Pacherias all the time.
Yes.
Lovely experience.
What's your entry like into it? So, because I've heard some horror stories about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it shaped you to be a man. It gave you the leadership that you need. I still use the leadership that I learned in Patch to this day. The idea of differentiating yourself is really important. There's something we used to call poaching. Oh, I'm the biggest poacher ever. Anyone who knows about poaching, it's kissing up.
Poaching.
Yes. Trying to understand what works in any environment. I'll repeat that. Behaviors are different in different environments. So there are places where you say, this environment, what you have to be is really, really smart. That's sawa. What you have to be in Patch is to be cool, to play Rouge, to play some of the sports, and also be smart. So you have to learn and shape yourself to what makes you win in any environment. Yes. So the people who won are the people who mastered that. Yes. It was also a very interesting environment because now all of a sudden it's like I was Embu cool first in St. Michael. I went to Sawasawa. I was beginning to be Sawasawa cool. Now I came to Patch. I was like, I have to start from here and define yourself. It's like, where did you come from? Sawasawa. What the heck is Sawasawa? So now you have to tell the story again, all over again. Yes, and there are people who are very, very smart in the school.
And let's be honest, Nairobi School has people from across the country.
Yes.
And the numbers are many. And they're the best from across the country.
Yes.
Because it's a national school.
Yes.
So only a certain quarter were picked for the school.
Yes. There was also an aspect of people from who were in kind of like their parents were diplomats and now returning back. So they got a priority to go to Patch.
Oh, for real?
So all of a sudden it's like now there's a different class of people who are being brought by Benzes, and they're also, sons of ministers and stuff. So it was a different dynamic altogether.
What about the monolization? A lot of the people who have sat on this table and talked about Patch, from the horror perspective, DNA, for example, left because of it. It couldn't stand the heat. My here has shed a few tears.
It's a best experience ever.
You're the first. What do you mean best? Like let's be real.
You gotta clean people up. Let me tell you something. When you come into an environment, you have to be cleaned up. I'll tell you something. So for example, if I'm talking to an adult, I don't pocket. It's just respect, basic respect. If you're pocketing, I think you need to be chewed. And then you learn,
Chewed.
Well, you need to be,
Salimiad.
Yes. Wacha nimsalimie, wacha tusalimiane hapa. So,
translate for yourself,
and then there's also the translation between kind of like the authority structure. In any environment, there's an authority structure. And you want to make sure at least things work in the structure that it's in.
Okay, let me. The CT, as you can clearly see, is watched also by an international market.
Yes.
So I want you to paint a picture of a holistic picture of Patch, the environment when you got in from your perspective.
Yes. So a little bit of history. So Nairobi School was a military barrack in 1939-1945 during World War II. So they built it more of a cadet school. So they had the cadet discipline that was needed. So what happened is that, for example, in a house, everyone was assigned to a particular house. You had the prefects, and you had the regular prefects, and then you had everyone else. So every 7 p.m., you'd go for roll call. So very military type. And then punishments were a little bit more on the physical side, push-ups, frog jumps, and all of that. But what it also taught you is taught you leadership. What wins in that environment, and how can you edge yourself from other people to differentiate yourself. So I was going to wear my Patch jacket when I get a chance. But you can see people with colors. Is it a house color? Is it a school color? Then that differentiates you, and that's what sets you apart from everyone else. That's really, really key in life. If you're just a commoner, you'll just be a commoner in life. So whatever you edge yourself with, that was the experience that I got in Patch. I got chewed. I survived. There was something called survival. What you do is that you take your bag and kind of like disappear from the world. But I just realized that wasn't going to work. So I ended up knowing, okay, what works in this environment, I'll play within the rules. But it was rough. Form 1, Form 2, it was rough. Then Form 3, I was fortunate to become a prefect. I never became. Then Form 4, the same thing. Now you're like, hey, reality check. Am I going to go to campus? Or am I going to stay in the same environment? Yes.
So I want to go back to this Form 1, Form 2 time.
Yes.
So you're getting in this environment, very different from this Sawa environment that you've been.
Yes.
Military.
Yes.
So the system of being run it's a military system, and I like that you've explained that, because even the students are the teachers. Let's call it what it is. The prefects are the ones who are running the school in an essence. Reporting authority all the way up until the teachers and the headmaster.
Yes.
So it is tough in terms of the punishment, physically, monetization that's happening, that is shaping and forming who you are.
Yes.
But what's the beauty that it is bringing out? For example, what are you beginning to fall in love with sports-wise? Are you doing, like, bring me that environment?
Yes. So a key part of making it in life is resiliency. If someone punches you in the nose, how are you going to wake up in the morning? Are you going to say, hey, I've been punched in the nose, I have to stay down for the rest of 6 months to wake up? No. That's what patch teaches you, resiliency. In that you learn, hey, today is going to be a rough day, but if I play within the rules, life is going to be easy.
So,
or if, let's say, this guy calls you and, you end up punishing you and is all on your case and stuff like that, you just shake it off. Tomorrow is going to be a better day than today. Resiliency is one of the most important things to be able to make it in life.
But at this, I love a lot of this sounds like your retrospect of Patch.
Yes.
So you're looking back and saying, this is what Patch did for me.
Yes.
But at that time, what are you feeling? Do you want to tap out? Do you want to quit? Are you happy?
Yes.
Are you, and don't give me your positive speak.
So
positive outward look.
Yes. So Form 1 was really rough for me. I was trying to find my place. At that point, my uncle was the headmaster for a school called St. Paul's Kevote. It's in Embu. And that was an option for me to go to. It would have been, hey, uncle, can I come into your school? So it was a really good option for me to go to. And Patch was tough. You have to find yourself. You have to find your voice. Who are you? They strip you out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning. Then you have to come back for inspection 6:10. You have to do your duty outside. And sometimes things don't go the same way they're supposed to. I remember my mom came to school every month for visiting day. And she was encouraging me. She still reminds me up to this day, if it wasn't for me, you'd have quit Patch. Yes, it was rough.
Yeah, this
was
really,
really rough. At the beginning, it's sort of like, it's a different language. People talk a different language. And then there's also an aspect of other people are better than others in a way. But it's just a perception. In society, it's the same thing. There are people who are going to be privileged more than you are. So you just have to know how to adapt into that environment.
Okay.
But it was rough. I almost tapped out, yes.
Okay.
But tapping out, my mom just reminded me, utarudi Embu, you'll go back to Embu and you become nothing.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, reality check at that point.
So there's a new goal.
Yes.
And the goal sounds like it's campus.
Yes, it's campus. At that point, I'm like, okay, well, how do people make it in this environment? And how can I learn from the best of the best in this environment?
Two things. One, do you gravitate to somebody? Do you have that survival instinct of like, this guy is the best at this? And number two, what is it the gravitation is? If it is there, what is it in sports? Is it in,
Yes. So there are two aspects of the academic side and there was the social side. I was always a little bit of a smaller kid. So Rouge wasn't in the cards. But I played it. I played it the best way that I could. I also played, hockey, swimming, basketball. I did everything that I could at that moment in time. Let me rewind at that point.
No problems.
What happened? Biashara started going down.
Oh.
Yes. In Embu now, things were not going too well.
Your dad's business.
Yes. My dad's business wasn't doing as well. So when I came to school, there were things that you needed to buy. A hockey stick. There was, soccer boots that you needed to buy. So my dad went to River Road, school distributors, uniform distributors somewhere. There were two places where you could buy your clothes. There was a ritzy place where it was recommended, but you'd also buy them from River Road. Same kind of things. So my blazer was like super light. It was like a very, very light blazer. Because things were not, the hockey stick was like, as soon as I played with it, someone broke it in the first instance. I didn't have soccer boots to play with at that point. So I wasn't able to get into some of the sporting activities other people were getting into. Because when you go play Rouge and you don't have cleats, someone is going to kanyaga you. So it was rough. Very, very rough at that point because money started coming down. And even when we'd fika somewhere midterm, you'd be kicked out. because they haven't paid fees.
Okay, so it was bad.
It was bad, yes. So they would call your name, then you'd go back to Embu, sit down at the shop the whole day, and you wouldn't be able to sell. So at that point, I realized my life could easily turn out to be in Embu doing nothing.
Wow.
Yes. But I played all the sports, most of the sports. That's on the social side. On the academic side, when we got invited to Patch, I still remember reading the newspaper. There was a guy called James Mugo. He got 634 out of 700. He was the best. He was from a place called Baricho in Kirinyaga. Again, affinity with the best. I was like, this guy is going to be my best friend. And he became my desk mate from Form 1 to Form 4.
No way.
James Mugo, yes. I don't know what he ended up doing food science somewhere, but really, really smart guy. I was like, what are his study habits? What is he doing that's different from me?
You looked and found out about him before even entering the school?
Yes, yes. They would interview the guy who was the best in the school, the best in KCSE,
yes,
KCPE at that point.
Yes.
Yes, and it was James Mugo. And they said, he's going to Nairobi School. So as soon as I landed, I was like, James Mugo became my best friend. And back at Form 4, we were sitting in front with him, yes.
Wow.
Yes. Again, that's the affinity. If someone is doing better than I am, I'm learning from them.
What did you offer him at that time? Or was it just friendship?
It was friendship, connecting. He was from Baricho, which is in Kirinyaga. I'm from Embu. So we kind of had that
connection.
Yes, that connection. He was big on hip-hop, and he was learning a lot of that. I learned a little bit of hip-hop, but he superseded me in that. He had the Word Up magazines and stuff like that. I didn't have access to that. But it was more friendship and connection. Yeah.
What did it feel like going back to Embu because you haven't paid fees, sitting at the stop, at the shop to sell?
Yes.
And you're not selling?
Yes. That was a pivotal moment. I just realized that if I don't make it in life, this is what's going to become of me. Wow. I'll get one of the shops. My dad will give me, hey, let me open for you a shop in Kagio or somewhere. Then all of a sudden, could be days that you don't sell, days on end. So that means that my dream of taking my kids to Patch or even better schools is never going to come true. So I realized the reality of life. You're this close to having nothing.
Okay.
Yes. So up to this day, I work harder than everybody else because I'm seeing, hey, it's just one shift away from becoming nothing.
I've had people use that thing, running away from poverty.
Yes.
Like you're just looking over your shoulder.
Yes.
And later on actually, let me just ask it now.
Yes.
That running away from poverty gives a drive to attain and achieve a lot in life.
Yes.
That work ethic, is there a dark side to that? Is there a dark side to that ethics, that kind of grind?
You have to grind. When people are waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning, you have to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not, that's just an expression. I listened to a guy called Eric Thomas, and he talks about it's grind. You have to grind every single day. Consistency is key for us to be able to make it. You have to grind. Even if it's not for the money at that moment in time, you're just building a work ethic. You're building an example for your kids to see. Yes. If I see you hustling every single day, I bring them to work. I take a picture of my computer when I'm leaving work. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I write, grind. This is what you expected to do. Yes. So it's more so an example to everyone.
Okay, and let's be honest. In the environment that you are, the color scheme that you are, the continent that you're from, it's a bit more challenging.
Yes.
So you can't just expect to work as your peers.
Yes, yes. You have to outwork your peers. You have to. You have to constantly make sure that at least you're better than people around you.
I'm going to ask
and you're learning and you're uplifting other people. That's really, really important for you to differentiate. Again, goes back to the whole differentiation. What is a thing that's differentiating you from everyone else in Patch? Are you the guy who's going to be the Dobby boy? You're going to be the tea trader? The Pacherians know what I'm talking about. Are you going to be the commoner, just like everybody else? Yes. Are you going to be the guy who comes from a non-known school, who has a funny accent?
Yeah.
Are you going to differentiate yourself? You have to differentiate yourself in any environment.
This is to set context of where the story is headed.
Yeah.
For how many people work at Meta?
65,000.
That is direct employees. We're not talking about employees of other companies.
Yes.
Those are direct employees.
Yes, so 65,000, maybe another 200,000, 300,000 around the world, yes.
From your color skin, from the blacks, how many people are at your level?
It's a small percentage, very small percentage.
Would you say 1%?
Maybe less than that. But it's not because Meta has not tried. They've tried. But what happens is that if you don't keep up with everybody else, it's meritocracy. I want to keep the best of the best. So if you want to change the world, you want to keep the best of best in that environment. It's not about because you're black, I need to keep you. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you get the opportunity, rise up to the occasion. So you have to rise up to the occasion. You can't be work. You can't be just average.
You know, the reason I've asked that question, in 65,000 employees, 1,000 employees, you are in the top 0.something%.
Yes. Yes. And it's not just Meta, it's corporate America too. It's just general corporate America.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So when he talks about this work ethic, people see the glory.
Yes.
I mean, people see, the glory, but they don't know the story. Sylvia Mulenge loves to say that.
Yes.
So when you're talking about this 3 a.m., this 2 a.m., when you're hearing about somebody walking and driving this and living here and jet setting and flying like this, I want people to understand the price. So when you're here talking about this grind, understand to get to this percentage of people and earn this kind of finances, this is the kind of life that it requires. Or the system spits you out.
Yes. For you to have the impact that you want to have, you know, no matter what it is, you have to work harder than everybody else. That's just, you know, it could be camera business. That's what you're doing. You're the best at what you do. You grind. If Richie says, come in tomorrow morning, I say, I'll come in, I'll show up. That's the most important thing. You have to differentiate yourself for the better.
Man.
Yes. It's really, really important to know that.
So,
like once on that stage, you know, if you make a small misstep, that's it. But the thing that sets your side apart is the hard work. That one you can control. You can't control how other people perceive of you. But you know, if you're good at what you do, you're good at what you do. And that passion shows up.
I've read Will Smith's biography. He says something so powerful. I've never been the most talented.
Yes.
But I will outwork you any day.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
Yes.
That's his mantra to success.
Yes.
Not talent, hard work.
Yes. And you know, sometimes you find talent in some of those things that you do. Networking, connecting, strategy. That's easy for me. But also, bread and butter is really, really important. Do I have the highest performing team? Yes. You know, am I taking care of each one of them to achieve the company objectives? Yes. Am I making sure that we're driving towards the impact that we want, making sure that we're protecting 4 billion people's data and information? Yes. We're driving towards that.
God.
Yes.
Did you use the word B for billions?
Yes. Yes. I personalize that even more. I just say, hey, my mom uses WhatsApp all the time. I don't want her information lost. You know, someone using her data. I want to make sure that she has her information. So I personalize it even more for me.
Okay.
Yes. I'm responsible for making sure the company has the right controls around this, and I'll make sure it happens.
Wow.
Yes.
Dude.
I think it starts out with passion. The impact, then passion towards it. I love what I do every single day.
Yes, I get it.
Yes. There are aspects that, you know, of the grind that you don't like, but you have to do them to be able to differentiate yourself. Yeah.
How do you do in patch? Or is there anything else you want to speak about this patch era before we transition into the next phase?
So patch was eye-opening. First of all, I wasn't just sour good. I was in a different environment. There are people who are smarter, better, faster than me. So you have to learn from them. So it's an environment that challenged me a lot. And I also wanted my kids to have the life that these guys had. I'll give you an example. So I think Form 3, Form 4, there was an exchange program it was a French exchange program. People were going to Reunion. And they chose the people who lived in Nairobi. because they had proximity. So the exchange students would come in and live with them. And I was like, man, this is really tough that we went to live in Embu. I wish I was one of us. So I've always aspired to do something that I didn't have. Yeah, so it challenged me a lot more. Patch was also a leadership program by itself. At really young age, you learned how to stand up for yourself, to be resilient, also be able to manage things. How do you get by? How do you say, there's senior school prefects, there's normal prefects, there's seniors who are more senior than others. Yes. There's a guy called Senior Most, I'm sure he's gonna watch this, who feels like he's a senior more than someone else. So you learn how to kind of like make sure at least you navigate that environment. But for the most part, leadership was key to what I learned at Patch. What's
your definition of leadership at that stage? Because, some people think leadership is just a position.
Yes.
So for me, in fact, I'm saying the country is going through a transition of politics to leadership.
Yes.
For me, I'm so happy that politics is dying and leadership is being forced to arise.
Yes.
And being unveiled. So what's your version of leadership?
So leadership is making sure that you're taking people to the promised land. Whatever the promised land is. How do you make sure at least people understand what that promised land is, and how do you bring everyone along to that?
Wow.
And you can have different types of leadership along the way. You can have servitude leadership. You can be a leader on the ground, actually doing as much of a work as possible. You could be at the forefront of it, just saying, hey, this is what the strategy is. This is a 5-year plan is, and this is how we get there. And then coming back to every single person. If I talk about political leadership, you say, hey, how does this vision, what does this mean to Mama Mboga? And how can I be able to take her to that promised land? Whatever her promised land is, and whatever the collective promised land is. Yes. Yeah.
Just for context, at Meta, what kind of team do you lead, and how many people does that fall under you and trickle down? Or what would you say your department holds?
Yeah, so core team is about 15 people, but hundreds of people in terms of people who do the work that I oversee. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And that affects, again, as you're saying, billions of people.
Yes. So yes, because the scope of work that I do, for example, is making sure management has the right level of controls to protect other people's data.
Wow.
So huge, significant amount of impact. 4 billion people, I said, around the world.
And you'll have no idea how many people, like, for example, I'd say 50% of the phone calls I get these days are from WhatsApp. I used to think because it's free, but now the narrative is changing because it's encrypted.
Yes.
So people are more interested in the protection of the phone call, especially with the political environment, over the price.
Yes.
How crazy is that?
Yes, and also proliferation of WhatsApp. Everyone has WhatsApp. In the developing world, everyone has WhatsApp.
I was going to say that's not the case for some digital speak. That's not the case in America.
Yes.
Is it? Is the acceptance or adaptation of WhatsApp increasing?
So I think WhatsApp started out as a product outside the US. That's where proliferation started coming up. And that's where the use cases became very unique. In the States, we have other things. Messenger can do the same thing. iMessage can do the same thing. So, Messenger can do the same thing. Facebook Messenger can be able to do the same thing that we do with WhatsApp. It's a little bit more proliferated on that side than it is here.
That's crazy. I've never...
Yes.
We'll touch into the different nuggets. Oh, man, this convo is sweet. So how do you do then in Patch?
I do well.
What's well?
I got a B, ended up going to campus, but I wasn't the best of the best. This is what happened. So at one point along the way, you choose the selection that you want, the classes that you want to select. So I selected art and design. I think my creative mind told me that, I can put something on paper that looks very creative. And I wanted to express a little bit of that. So it was actually the best opportunity for me to have 2 hours every week in the art room with other people, and we talk about art, we talk about the creative piece. The only problem with art is that people did not do well in art. So that's what lowered my grade.
The average mean grade.
Yeah, the average mean grade wasn't good in art and design. People did really well in technical drawing, which was kind of like the sister. People will say no. Technical drawing is a little bit more advanced. Art and design was a little bit more on the creative side. So that's what lowered my grade. But in chemistry, in biology, in geography, got A's on all of them.
And at this time, how can I forget this question?
Yeah.
At this time, do you have a vision of what it is you want to be in life?
So at that point, my dad had ventured into agricultural engineering. So he was doing electrification of coffee factories in the country. So I think it was a World Bank sponsored program. So he was doing, and one of the guys who would sign off on his ideas was an agriculture engineering. So he was like, you gotta be an agriculture engineer. These guys have a lot of money. According to his mind, that's what the thing that I was supposed to become. So I choose agriculture, which is what I was called to do in campus. But I ended up choosing BA and Econ. BA Econ and Sociology as an alternative to that. Yes. At that point, I was thinking engineering. Computer science wasn't even an option at that point.
Yeah. What year is this for context? 90?
That's 94, 93, yes. We had one computer in the library.